Listen, I feel like we should start today with you singing like a little Christmas song, like as an opener.
Nobody wants that.
I mean, I do. I just fully disagree. I definitely want that. Well, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Again with the wave. I love it so much. I'm leaving it. We're using this. It's great. It's so exciting. I love that it's Christmas because of the weirdness of how the calendar falls this year. Even though we only kind of talked about 3 weeks of Advent.
This is true.
We're moving on. I mean, not in worship. We'll have our fourth Sunday of Advent.
Yeah.
But we are talking about all things Christmassy and how you can lean into the Christmas season now, past Advent, with your family. So it's very exciting.
Yeah.
I'm excited about it.
Me too.
I'm Becca. I'm the pastor of family ministries here at Katy First.
And I'm Mark. I'm the senior pastor at Katy First.
Well, welcome to Katy First Family Podcast, where we offer ideas, inspiration, and encouragement to help your family continue to grow as joyful disciples of Jesus Christ. Like we said, this week, it is all about Christmas.
Yay.
I have a question. Are you ready? You're not sure.
Am I ready for the question, or am I just generally ready for anything?
Are you ready
I'm
for the
up for
question?
it.
Are those two separate answers? Oh, goodness. We've gone a little loopy post.
Yeah.
Because we've made it through Advent. So here's my question. Do you all, as the Kimbrough family, your particular family unit, do you have any Christmas day traditions?
So my family growing up, we didn't have a lot that we did regularly. We kind of did some off and on. Hannah's side for sure does, and we've brought many of those in. One of those is on Christmas Eve, as soon as it's Christmas Eve. So it's December 23rd, clock rolls over to the 24th. There is this game where the first one to say Christmas Eve gift, then you have to give a gift.
Yeah.
And then a book is placed under your pillow on Christmas Eve night.
That's nice.
Do you?
Well, we have one that
accidentally. Y'all do.
Well,
I know
come
you
on,
do.
Be real. First of all, in Newcomb's, not Hyde, but in Newcomb world, if you do something more than once, so if you do it a second time, it is now a tradition that must be honored forever. Yes. So my in-laws have the exact same meals for the day before Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and New Year's Eve every year. Which is, honestly, the food is really good.
Yeah.
So I'm here for it.
That's
Christmas
good.
Eve, or New Year's Eve rather, they go to the hibachi grill place. Delightful. Mm-hmm. So Stephen and I accidentally made a tradition where, because we would be at two separate churches for almost the whole day, Christmas Eve, we would get home and we would have dinner together, and then we would just kind of hang out and just chill. And then at midnight, because I used to have a service that was at 11. So when we got home from that service, we would have dessert. We had a special dessert that we had picked out. It's usually not something that we bake. It was gelato or something we got at the store. And we would eat that in Christmas PJs in bed, last thing of the day, and give each other one gift. Yeah. And that was it. And it's kind of changed now just because listen, you should not be eating sweets and going straight to sleep. That's not good for you. I don't know if you know that. But we do still take just a pocket of time for just the two of us. So even when we have family or whatever, there's no Samuel, it's just the two of us to do a little gift exchange at midnight. Yeah. And that's kind of fun.
That is nice.
Yeah, we're big on traditions. Yeah, so those are our traditions. But as I was thinking about how do we lean into Christmas, first of all, it's now officially the Christmas season, so we should go big. Yeah. If we've been holding back kind of the reins of leaning in, we need to full tilt.
Yeah.
12 Days of Christmas.
Yep.
Go for it.
Yep.
But what kind of would you like to offer as, because it's a lot to sort of recap.
Yeah.
Both, wrapping up Advent.
All of Advent and Christmas.
But what do you think, like, what's your biggest takeaway worship-wise from this season?
We talked about incarnation all throughout Advent, and then on Christmas Eve, really sat with Luke's telling of the birth, and he has that like sort of famous line that there was no room in the inn. And on Christmas Eve, talked about that particular word. A lot of translations now are kind of dropping the language of inn, because inn sort of implies like Holiday Inn, like we think of like
somewhere where you pay to
somewhere
stay.
you pay to stay, and oh no, there was no room. It isn't that sad. All the hotels were booked in Bethlehem. That it is better translated as the guest room, and that is a particular room, just like in any of our houses that we have a guest room. But the sort of it's like, why would Luke tell us that part of the story? Well, maybe it's not just like some like rote historical throwaway note.
Right.
It's included because there's some deep theological truth. And I think that is that at Christmas, of course he's not brought into the world in the temporary space,
In the what?
In the temporary space. All the coughing.
I'm so sorry. We're just going to label this.
There's coughing throughout this.
The episode where Becca keeps coughing.
So, I remember the first time I kind of connected the dot on that. I was like, oh, isn't that fascinating? Like, that's it. Like, when Jesus was born, he was born in the manger. He was born in the stable. He was born in this spot that, of course, there was no room in the inn, because this wasn't going to be a temporary drop-down moment for God. Like, this was like Luke's way of saying God is with us. God is always going to be with us. Mm-hmm. And I think that in Christmas has always been part of the beautiful part of like, mm-hmm. It's like you get through all of the Christmas Advent season, mm-hmm. but all the Christmas hustle and bustle that we all do.
Right.
Even Christmas Eve night, which is wonderful.
Right.
And then you just like wake up Christmas Day.
Right.
And there's like this stillness.
Right.
And maybe that stillness is just before you open presents, or maybe it's after all that, and it's like, okay, now what?
Right.
And I think that is almost now is where it really hits me of like, and this is Christmas.
Right.
Like this still part right here.
Yeah.
And then just kind of resting in like, God is with us. It's not this big loud thing anymore. It's just this kind of calm, nice presence. And then we begin to grow out of that. So I don't know. I think for me personally, that's what it's become, and on Christmas Eve, that's kind of that tying together. We've anticipated. Oh, look how God showed up. And by the way Luke tells us the story was to remind us this is a permanent thing. This isn't going to be a temporary stop.
Yeah.
And now we can rest in that for a little bit.
I think one of the things, this isn't just true of me as a parent. One of the things I've realized about me as a person is that like high expectation days, which could be, Christmas is a perfect example, but it's not the only one. Like birthdays can be that way, or even just like special family days, first day of school or whatever.
Yeah.
But those high expectation days can also lead to like high disappointment.
Yeah.
And so reimagining for yourself, if you're the person in your family that has those high expectations, what that day needs to look like for it to be a success, mm-hmm. right? Intentionally, like sometimes you got to talk to yourself about it. Now listen, I don't need the big reaction. I don't have to film every moment. They don't have to love everything. It doesn't all have to go off without a hitch. Can you tell that I have to tell myself this? That this is my list. It doesn't all have to just work out perfectly.
Yeah.
In order for it to be a really good day.
Yeah.
Right? I think having a clear idea of like what a really good day is, or what it means to really celebrate Christmas, I think is a better way to talk about that.
Yeah.
Is really important. And also if you've got kids in your house that are, big, high expectations days, people, mm-hmm. right? Helping them beforehand mm-hmm. to kind of process that could be really helpful.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know that Samuel is like, I think he's too little for me to be able to tell that he gives like any kind of feeling about special days. Right. But we have, we read books before bedtime mm-hmm. and I kind of transition in and out like seasonally. So we have Christmas books right now, obviously. So one of our favorite books, he calls it the mama book, but I think it's just because llama is hard to say and there's a mama in it. So it's Llama Llama Holiday Drama.
Yeah.
It's our current fave.
Sounds great.
We love it. But the whole premise of this story is that like little llama is going through what we would call Advent, right?
Yeah.
This season of waiting for Christmas and everything is just taking so long and, all these like, I think at one point it says like llama time is going slow, right? How many more days to go?
Yeah.
And then it's this buildup of there's so much, right? The whole book is like a listing of all the things they're doing during the holiday time. And, llama starts to swoon because it's just too much. And then like my favorite page is the page where like little llama just passes out.
Yeah.
And it just says llama llama holodrama. I love it. And then like the mom comes over. She goes, come over here, little llama. Have a cuddle with your mama. Mm-hmm. And which is my favorite part to read to Samuel, obviously. And maybe why he calls it the mama book.
Yeah.
And she just reminds little llama that it's the point of the holiday is to celebrate the gift that they have in each other.
Yeah.
And so they cuddle and they give a kiss mm-hmm. and then llama has a good holiday.
Yeah.
And I think for me, I have loved reading that throughout the season because it is easy, I think it's easy for everybody to live with one foot in the next season.
Right.
It's really easy. Like we have to a little bit. Like I've already started prepping Lent stuff.
Right.
Because we have to. It's part of our jobs, right?
I know.
But I think an important practice for us, especially at Christmas, is to not be 10 steps ahead.
Yeah.
To be right now. And if that means that like an easy way to do this, but it could be tough, is leave the mess on the floor. Don't preempt the mess. You know what I mean? Don't get the trash bag.
Yeah.
And because sometimes sitting in the middle of the Christmas mess is the point. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Finding ways to not orchestrate the day or the season, but to just enjoy it. And that's not entirely possible. If you're going to have to go on a road trip, like I know y'all are driving, you have to plan that sucker out. You got to have stuff for the kids to do in the car. And you got to have, especially if you're driving Christmas Day, you can't just stop anywhere because stuff's not open. You have to plan things out because there's not going to be places for you to stop like you might normally. Yeah. And so I'm not saying that you can just abandon all planning, but finding ways to really enjoy being present in the middle of the chaos and the mess and recognizing that your presence really does matter, I think is really important. Maybe even having a not to do list. If you are a list person, am I only doing this podcast for myself? That's what I feel like at this point.
I'm holding the mirror up to you actually.
Thank you. Yeah. It's very rude and super helpful. But okay, so Christmas Day, I am not going to do XYZ, whatever it is. So that you don't have to be the grand conductor of the day. You don't have to live up to some expectation. You can just be present. Because as we've talked about throughout Advent, that gift of presence, that God with us, that showing up, that matters that's so powerful. Yeah. It matters so deeply. Yeah. And so how can we show up, for our families that day?
Yep. That presence over the long haul just speaks volumes, and just learning how to be present in just one moment. Yeah.
It makes me so mindful too of we can see it so actively as parents or as friends, whatever our relationships are, right? That it matters that we show up, right? Good times, bad times, mediocre times. And so when it really is such good news. Yeah. That it matters so deeply to who we are, that people show up and God sees that need in us and fulfills it. No, it's such a chaotic episode between the coughing and the all the things.
It's a busy season.
It is. But it's good. In the middle of that is this really good gift. Yeah. I love it. I just love how God shows up in the middle of our mess. Yeah. Yeah. Then, now. Yeah. Apparently forever. Yeah. It's apparently the deal.
It's the deal. It's the way God works. There's something true about it.
Yeah. Just keep showing up.
Well, what's interesting is culturally, and I'm not knocking our cultural way of doing Christmas. Yeah. I put a Christmas tree in early.
Yeah.
Lights early. And it's also true that culturally we celebrate Christmas for a long time. But in our Christian calendar now enters us into the festive season. Right. As you kind of said. So now, after this long Advent season, that's that, as you mentioned, 12 days of Christmas. Right. Now we move towards Epiphany. Right. And this is the season of embracing the joy and the song and the feast and the presents and the right. And that's what these next 12 days are all about. Yeah. So I'm excited. That kind of moves us forward. Christmas Day is done, but Christmas season. Right. It's here.
So even if your Christmas Day, if those high expectations didn't get met, second day of Christmas.
That's right.
Try again.
2 turtle doves, y'all.
Yeah. Live it up. So whatever your Christmas looks like, we hope that it is a merry one. Yes. And we hope that you live into this season of Christmas, recognizing the joy of God with us and the gift that you can give one another by showing up and being together. It doesn't need to be perfect to be holy. It doesn't need to be perfect in order to be really, really good. And maybe our idea of perfect is the problem to begin with. Yeah. Maybe just with is perfect. Yep. And so I hope that you have a great Christmas. And we cannot wait to see you again soon.
Merry Christmas.